What's going on, gym bros and gym girls? My name is James, and welcome to episode 17 of Gym Bro Talks, where we dive into the minds of bodybuilders. Now, today we have Brinkz on the show, aka the Baki of TikTok. How are you doing today, Brinkz?
I'm doing well, James. Thank you so much for having me on today. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for taking the time to come onto the show. I know you are an incredibly busy guy, right? You're doing school, you're coaching clients, and then you're making content and a whole bunch of stuff going on your plate there. Do you mind kind of telling us a little bit more about yourself? I know a lot of people already know you, but maybe just like a little bit of a background.
Yeah, sure. So, grew up in California all my life. 4 years ago, I decided to move out to Arizona to go to ASU to study business supply chain out there. I actually just graduated a couple months ago, and currently, what I'm doing is online bodybuilding coaching, and then I work at a restaurant part time, and I also obviously make content for like TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, all that. And yeah, following my passion of bodybuilding and trying to make it my life.
That's amazing, man. It's really good to hear. So, what I want to ask is, I'm also currently going to school for business, and I'm also doing this coaching thing and this fitness thing on the side. And I feel like with the stuff that I learned in school, it almost doesn't really apply to what I'm doing right now. So do you feel like the stuff you're learning in school is actually helping your business at all?
So I think subconsciously it kind of does,
Right.
but in reality, you don't. It's especially in high school and in college more so. Even like you don't really learn a ton that like really applies. At
Right.
least for business sake, if you're majoring in business, like it doesn't really apply too much to like what you're doing. Most of the time, it's very like level zero, like level one stuff that they're kind of teaching.
Yeah.
But I think it does a little bit help. And I think college connections are super important. So that's also a big thing.
100%.
The actual learning material, maybe not so much, like doesn't really apply too much, but
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah. So are you doing coaching clients full time?
Yeah, that's basically going to be my main source of income going forward. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so you get, if you don't mind me asking, you get all of your clients from TikTok or just like social media in general?
From social media in general. I have a thing where it on my application where it says like where did you find out about me from, and most of it is from TikTok. So yeah.
Right, right, 100%. Because I know, at one point you went across my FYP. I'm like, what the fuck? This guy's huge. So the name suits you. The name suits you. And that's
Appreciate
why,
it.
yeah, that's why I was really eager to get you onto the show because I really want to talk about, how you got that physique, the stuff, the training that you went through. What do you particularly do different from other creators, other influencers, or other bodybuilders for that matter? So, yeah, I want to kind of get dive right into, the fitness aspect of it a little bit before, we kind of jump into some other topics. What would you say you do differently than other bodybuilders?
So I wouldn't say I do any much different. I mean, everyone has their own different training style
Of
and their
course.
approach to diet and training.
Mm-hmm.
I think I am different probably than a lot of like influencers because like I don't really live more so like an influencer to like create content. It's more about like bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is always first. Training and eating are always first.
100%.
But yeah, I don't know. Do you want to delve into like the training style or like nutritions or what was the actual like?
Yeah, let's dive right into the training part of it because I noticed one of the biggest things I noticed that you do, which I find a lot of people overlook, is like really controlling the weight. Like I'll see videos of you like really focusing on that eccentric, and then you fucking every movement, I see your eyes are fucking closed, and you're just like focusing on that mind muscle connection. Like, what are you doing when you have your eyes closed? Are you like going to your dark place and you're just fucking like that dumb bitch like fucking dump me, so I'm fucking like cranking out these weights or what's going on there?
Honestly, bro, I'm not like a lot of the homies where it's like the trying to like go for the girl in the back of the head. Not like
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I do try and train very intensely. Um, so just the training style I have now is more of a lower volume approach, and
Gotcha.
then very high intensity. And I think the high intensity is like it's something that takes time. So I'm still like kind of developing how to train as intense as I can. And then yeah, you're right. I do practice like very controlling weight, focusing on negatives, um, and like very proper execution throughout all my sets.
Gotcha.
I do think that like I didn't always used to train like this. I got a coach about when I did my prep about a year ago, and he kind of developed or instilled this like type of training into me. And that's kind of what I've been doing lately, but it's not always how I've trained. It's
Mm.
just kind of something that I'm doing now to see how it works, how I like it, and how my body reacts. And so far, I think it's given me great results. So it's something I'm gonna keep doing.
Now, if you were
But
to
yeah,
compare the way you were training before versus the way you're training now, which one would you say is better?
I wouldn't say there's. I would say the way I train now is probably better. I think it's different for everyone. Like,
Gotcha.
the best training style is going to be different for everyone. But, um, like I used to train very like high volume, like more like four sets of 12 for like everything like that.
Hmm.
But I now it's like, I do two or three working sets. And it's different because um, when you lower the amount of sets and lower the volume, you really have to make sure that your intensity is at as top as it can be
Right.
because you're doing less. So it kind of makes the quality of your sets more important. So you put a little bit more emphasis as if you were just doing like 4 by 12 for everything.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of how the training style is approached now
And so you're
for me.
doing, to true failure every single time?
Yeah, so I have like a set rep range for my sets, and then I will pick a weight that I'll fail within that rep range whenever I'm choosing it. Yeah.
Mm. Gotcha.
So it
Gotcha.
is failure basically every time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I know like I've talked about this in other episodes, but there's like some people or quote unquote experts that'll say if you leave like reps in reserve, it actually is beneficial for you because then you can push to your maximum potential for the next set. But then I think the
Hmm.
key really, at the end of the day, it comes down to just being able to achieve like muscular failure because that's what's actually going to force your muscles to grow. And I
Hmm.
think a lot of times people don't actually know if they're training to failure, right? Because I think your mind gives up before your body does. Like you feel like, oh fuck, this is
100%.
this is hard. Like this is, and then like I might have like 10 more reps in me, but I already given up because it just feels so hard. And so
Hmm.
I think for that matter, like there's just different variables that actually come into play. But I think training to muscular failure most of the time is probably the way to go for muscle growth.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's so much more mental than physical, I think, when you get down to the last five so reps because it's really you can do it. You just have to believe you can and tell your mind that you can. But yeah, it's something that like I said, it takes a lot of practice, a lot of time to really learn how to train to absolute failure. And it's something that I'm still working on today for some exercises. It just takes practice, honestly.
Yeah, and I think your mind is actually such a powerful thing. It's so powerful. Like
Hmm.
like even for myself, from my experiences with myself when I'm training, and for my clients as well. Um, we'll do like let's just say we're doing like a bench press, and we slide like 25 pounds on each side, and they're like, oh fuck, I can't do this. It's too heavy. And then we're like, okay, we'll go down. We'll put 10 pounds on. So then we put 10 pounds on instead, and then they'll go onto the bench, and then I'll like secretly slide like those extra 15 pounds on each side again,
Yep.
and then they'll
Yep.
do it, and then after the set, they're like, oh yeah, that felt pretty good. I'm like, you look at the weight, and they're like, what the fuck, because I think the mental barrier is actually such a powerful thing. If you think you can't do it, you're not gonna be able to do it. I think before you
Yep.
go into every set, you just gotta have that like that mental power to think that like obviously you don't want to go over, you don't want to like ego lift and like put a bunch of weight on and you can't do it, you injure yourself, but you want to have that mental power where you're like, yes, like I can do this, and you go for it and you try.
Yeah, I agree. So I mean, yeah, obviously, like one of the most important parts of bodybuilding is progressive overload. And you're right. You have to believe you can. You have to believe you can beat the reps that you did last week.
Yeah.
But then again, you have to be careful because you don't want to progress too fast in the sense where
Hmm.
you're losing that form and you're losing the proper execution. So it is
Right.
like something that you just have to balance out. Make sure that yes, you are progressing, but you're also keeping that same form, and you don't want to, like, obviously you don't want to get hurt. That's the biggest thing to. I'll have a long career in bodybuilding, so.
100%. And I think that kind of plays into mind muscle connection, which is another thing I think a lot of people overlook. Do you yourself focus a lot on mind muscle connection?
Yeah, I think it is. I think mind muscle connection is a very important part of bodybuilding and
Yeah.
the training that I do. So I do think that there's some exercises where it's not as important.
Mm.
I think that it should be a balance of, and again, this is like I'm 22 years old and still trying to figure out like what kind of works. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think bodybuilding is, you listen to science, you listen to people that have done it, and you listen to like, and
Mm.
you realize stuff, or you come to conclusions based on your experience. But um, I think that it should be like training should be a balance between, yes, like really great mind muscle connection exercises, and then also exercises that are just um, not so much mind muscle connection, more so just moving weights, and focusing on like really getting like, it's not using terrible form, but not using like the most perfect form. Just attacking weight and being intense with weight. I think there's room for that.
Yeah, I think it plays into mostly whether or not it's a compound exercise or a isolation exercise, right? Because
Yeah,
when you're
yeah.
doing like compound exercises, you gotta go hard, and this you're
Mhm.
utilizing so many different muscle groups that you can't really focus on one muscle group per se. So, but
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
think like in like say like a quad extension or a bicep curl, like really focusing on that bicep in the preacher curl, I think is very important, and like to really get that contraction. Yeah, I guess it's more so like um, isolation versus compound,
hmm
or like yeah, yeah. That's what I would say is kind of key. But what would you say is kind of the what are some ways to improve mind muscle connection?
Um, Improving my own session. I mean, first things first, you just have to nail down your form and execution. I mean, that's really when you'll start to get that mind muscle connection. It's also something where you kind of like, it's not going to happen like overnight, especially if you're just starting out. You just may not feel like you don't really have those muscles to really like actually feel yet. So it just takes time for like, even if you're not feeling it yet, just make sure you have the proper form and execution for all exercises, and then eventually like you'll be able to start feeling it more. But it just takes time, I think. But number
Yeah.
one key is make sure your form is on point.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think there's a lot of like clients of mine or like just people in general that I train with. At first, when they start training, like a lot of people can't flex their lats or they can't flex their
Exactly.
chest. And I think that's just a lack of like practice or a lack of like not going to the gym for a lot. Like if you go to the gym for a long time and then you keep practicing and you keep
hmm
focusing on that muscle, then eventually you're gonna be able to flex your lats. Eventually you're gonna be able to flex your chest. So
Exactly.
yeah, you're right. I think it's all about just like training long enough and training hard enough. Um,
I agree.
yeah, so I wanted to dive into some of your specific exercises. One of them being, I believe it's a lower trap exercise. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's the one where you put the cable system at the low point and you grab opposite side and then you pull up, towards the back. Um, because a lot of people don't do that exercise, and I know it can be important. But why would you say that you put it in your program?
If we're thinking about the same one, are we talking about the one where it's cables and then it's like dual arms, and I'm just going kind of like up?
Yeah,
It was I put it in the beginning of my shoulder workout, I think.
I think
Is that
that's the
is that what you're
one.
talking about?
Yeah, I think that's the one.
Um, so yeah, I like that exercise a lot. It's a little like it's rear delts, side delts, and I use it before I do my shoulder press on my shoulder day.
Yeah,
But I really love that exercise. What was the question about it?
it was like, why do you put it in your program? Because I guess you get people like JPG or something, which will say like, I think he does that exercise as well, but because the muscle fibers in your rear delts run along this way, and so if you're doing a rear
Hmm.
delt fly from up to down, technically it lines up better with the muscle fibers. So when you're doing it like this, are you also getting a lot of rear delts, or is it you also get like low traps or like rhomboids in there as well?
Yeah, so you get a little bit of that too, and then it's also side delts more than
Oh,
rear
side
delts, I would
delts.
say.
Okay, I
Yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I do actually do the one where it's like above you, um, for the rear delts. Yeah, but this one's more so for side
I
delts.
see.
And I program it right at the beginning, honestly, right now, just to kind of fire off my delts and get them really like already pumped before
Mm,
um my compound with my shoulder press.
mm-hmm.
And it's again, it's something I'm playing around with in terms of like my exercise like
Like the
scheduling
order,
and where
yeah.
I put it in my exercise order. But right now, this is something I'm doing just because this is how my coach that I hired. This is how kind of he
I
programs my
see.
schedule or my programming, where he would put something like that before my like a shoulder raise before my shoulder press, or like he would put like a leg extension before my hack squat. Um, and honestly, I wouldn't say like I completely love it yet. It's
Yeah.
something I'm still just trying to play around with.
Yeah.
But but yeah.
That was actually going to be my next question because I noticed like with your shoulder days and your leg days, you're doing some isolations on the machines first before you go into like those heavy compound lifts. And from what
Hmm.
I know is that when you're doing something like that, you actually lose some strength, right? You lose some power during your compounds lifts where you're actually trying to go heavy, which is why I was wondering why, you did that, but I guess you explained it a little bit right now. Um, but I guess it would make sense if I don't know if this is how it's supposed to be laid out, but I guess it would make sense if for the isolation exercises, you were actually doing a very low RPE and kind of like a higher rep range just to kind of get some blood flowing in there. Is that kind of the idea
Hmm.
behind why it's laid out like that?
Um, I have programmed myself to kind of do it like that at times. And again, yeah, so like I'll do certain leg movements right now before
Right.
like my big compound movements like I'll do adductors and like a hamstring curl before I hit my like hack squat and leg press and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of just get my body like already super warmed up for everything, especially cuz like a lot of injuries originate from the lower body and everything. So I think having like, getting your hips open with
Yeah,
the adductors and getting your
I
hamstrings involved
see.
already, I think it's good.
Makes
But
sense.
you're right. Like it's tough to when you put exercises like a whole bunch of like isolation exercises before your compound lifts, like your hack squat, your barbell squat, those will be weaker if they're later on.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of just depends on what you want, what your goal is.
Mm.
So I think right now is like kind of what I'm doing right now is I'm kind of transitioning back to like putting my compounds more at the beginning of my
Mm.
workout because progressive overload on those compounds are going to be I think the most important part of like really progressing. So and obviously you're gonna be able to push more and progress better if those compounds are at the beginning, if those barbell squats at the beginning, and the shoulder press at the beginning,
Yeah.
because you will be taking out a little bit more. But yeah, I think it's just playing around with different things, different styles, really.
Yeah, and I'd say warming up is so important. A lot of people don't warm up. They overlook warming up. They're just like, ah, fuck that. It takes too much time. But it's like,
Yeah,
bro, like if you want to be injury free, if you want to be pain free, and like if you don't want to work out with stiff muscles. You literally don't want to work out with stiff
yeah,
muscles, disjointed. It just doesn't feel good. You don't have enough strength. So like do their warm up. And not even just like I think a lot of people stretch before their workout, which is also another no go for me, just because when you stretch, you actually lose a lot of your muscle power as well because you're like lengthening the muscles, unless you're doing it for a certain purpose, I guess, right? Like if you were, say, doing a squat and you had really tight calves and you couldn't get your knees over the toes, maybe that would be like an ideal situation to actually stretch the calves. But I think other than that, you shouldn't actually really stretch too much. I think dynamic
yeah. I
stretching
think
is
yeah, like light static stretches are okay at the beginning if you want
yeah.
to start off with that. I think a little bit. Mostly dynamic stretches is what I do.
Yeah.
Dynamic stretching, and then like just a lot of like different mobility work, especially for leg day. Different things to get my hips open and everything like that. And then like hop on the treadmill, hop on the stairmaster for a little bit, get your body warm.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Like,
Super important. You're right.
do you do like cardio for a long time? Like, like if you were just warming up, would you just do it for like 10, 20 minutes kind of thing?
Yeah, if I'm gonna warm up with like just walking on the treadmill, I'll just do like 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But do you do cardio other than just warming up, like in your program?
Um, yeah, so it depends. I mean, so when I was in my bodybuilding prep, I did a lot of cardio, or
Right,
I didn't do a lot of cardio, but I did a lot of walking,
right.
like expenditure as my cardio, basically.
Yeah.
Um, Now I don't do it as much. I still try and walk a lot. That's kind of like the main source of like my cardio, if you will, if you want to call it cardio. But I don't really do a ton of like stairmaster or like I don't do any running or anything
You
like
don't,
that.
yeah, you don't really bring your heart rate up above like a certain, like you're keeping it relatively low and you're kind of just like,
Yeah, like a low steady state cardio.
I see, I see, I see. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that's what most bodybuilders do, right?
Yeah, I would say most of them probably do that. Yeah.
And like, I guess the reason is because you are trying not to risk muscle loss. Is that kind of the reason?
Yeah. So my coach that I used to have, that was kind of like his rationale for it. Why I did the low steady state cardio was just
Hmm.
because like he thought that like getting my or getting my heart rate up and like pushing too hard on a stairmaster might actually make me lose a little bit of muscle. So it's kind of the walking is slow steady state that maybe can hold a little bit more muscle. I'm not sure how like true that really
Right.
is. But I think that's like kind of the rationale why people do it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think I think if your goal is like mass, then I would avoid cardio. But I think if you were just trying to build muscle and you're just trying to be lean, I think doing cardio would be okay, especially if you were to consume the right nutrients and the right amount of nutrients before and after the workout session. I don't think
Yeah.
you would risk too much muscle loss. So,
Yeah, and I think cardio is good. I personally think cardio is good for everyone. I think everyone should do some form of it just for heart health. And it's also
yeah.
helpful for like digestion and like helping your like bowel system and everything like that.
I didn't know that it was helpful for digestion, but that's good to know.
Yeah, yeah, like it's I know it's really good to like after if you have like a big meal after or if you have like a big meal like go for like a little bit of like a 15-20 minute
Right.
walk and it kind of helps like digest your food a little bit.
Yeah.
Or like you wake up and you can do some cardio and it kind of like gets your day going so like you're ready to eat stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that's like I think that's kind of how it works. I'm not like I didn't really major in any of this, so it's like I'm not like
Yeah.
100% like all science about it, but
Yeah.
that's kind of like what I think. Yeah.
I think cardio is important for for many reasons. So like you said, like heart health is so important. Like your heart is a muscle. If you don't exercise it, then it's not going to be as strong and as efficient to pump blood throughout, your body. And I think number two is that doing cardio, actually, I talked about this with Big Ron Jones. He's another influencer. But he was telling me that cardio is so important because when you're doing your muscle training, you need the blood, you need the oxygen to pump into the muscles. And so if you do cardio, it's going to work more efficiently. And so you will get more pump, and more pump will obviously help recovery. It'll, help you build muscle in the long run. And then the third reason I think why cardio is so important, I talked about this with Dr. Ids in episode 16, I think. And Dr. Ids was saying that uh, so you know how you have like two layers of fat, so you have your visceral fat and your subcutaneous fat.
Hmm.
Yeah, so your subcutaneous fat is the fat that's like just under the skin, and then your visceral fat is the fat surrounding the organs. And so your visceral fat is like the most harmful fat. If you have a lot of it, you have high chances of heart disease, high chances of cancer, whatnot. And he was saying that what he's suggesting is that the visceral fat is very sensitive to sympathetic activation, and your your sympathetic system is activated through stuff like cardiovascular activity. So like stuff like walking, running, and whatnot. And so that's gonna help you redistribute the visceral fat into subcutaneous fat. So you're not necessarily getting rid of the visceral fat, you're just redistributing it. Um,
Hmm.
which is, if you have less visceral fat, it's going to be healthier for you. And then you can do your calorie deficit, and then you lose, all the fat, and you look leaner and healthier. So I think cardio, yeah, no, you're right, is very, very important.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. That's interesting though. I didn't really know that. That's interesting.
I know, man, dude. I did that episode with Dr. Itz, and I fucking learned so much. It was like a one
Who
hour.
is it? Dr. Itz? I don't think I've ever heard of him.
He's a doctor. Well, obviously he's a doctor. He works at a hospital, but he's also got his master's in nutrition. So,
Okay.
he's, I think he has like 2 million followers on TikTok. I'm not too sure, but
Hmm.
the like 1 hour talk, he pretty much talked for like 90% of the podcast, which like I'm not complaining, but it was so insightful, man. I learned so much. He was even talking about like, because I was asking him about cholesterol, Liver King, right? Obviously,
Yeah.
Liver King was like, "Fucking, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't know. I don't believe in cholesterol. That's just fake." And then Dr. Ace was like,
It's
"No,
just
cholesterol is
ridiculous.
real." So I was asking
Yeah.
him about eggs, right? You know how some people are like, "Oh yeah, don't eat like more than 2 eggs a day, or don't eat more than three eggs
Yeah.
a day because it raises your cholesterol." And then I was asking him, Dr. Ace, about it, and he was saying that this is how like this is how I realized I actually don't fucking know anything, dude. Because what happens is when you hear one thing, you connect it to all these other things. It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
eggs are high in cholesterol, so it's gonna raise my cholesterol. He was like, no, not necessarily. Because eggs are so rich in nutrients, you eat the eggs, the other nutrients actually helps like suppress the cholesterol. And so yes, it does raise your cholesterol, but then the other nutrients in the egg suppresses cholesterol. So technically,
Hmm.
you can eat as many eggs as you want in a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you eat a lot of eggs?
I eat. I have one egg every day, one whole egg every day, and then 10 ounces of egg whites every day.
Eight. You said 8 whole eggs and then 10 ounces of.
No, one whole
Oh,
egg
sorry.
and then 8 ounces or 10 ounces of egg whites.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Is it
mostly egg whites, but I do have one whole egg.
you're just trying to like lower your fat content, fat intake?
I actually wouldn't say lower my fat content. It's easier for the egg whites are actually easier for me to eat. They have more protein as well. Um, but it's not about that. Yeah, it's also I just hate like the whole eggs. Like they're just way harder for me to eat. I rather eat the egg
No
whites
way.
honestly,
No
which
way.
is weird. I know I'm like the opposite of most people.
Yeah, yeah, man. Because when I'm like trying to like lower my fat intake, I'll like just eat egg whites. But then when I scramble that shit, dude, the egg whites are so like it's not creamy. It's not creamy. Like, how do you cook your egg whites?
You huh?
How do you cook
How do
your
I
egg
cook
whites?
them?
Yeah.
I put I just put them in a pan. I put them in a pan and with olive oil, and that's it. I'd much rather eat it like that. I can't. I hate the yellow part. It's hard
No
for me to eat.
way.
Yeah.
Fuck. So do you scramble it or you just fry it?
I kind of just like throw one egg on, throw the egg whites on, and then just kind of cook it, flip it like a couple times, a little scramble, and then just eat it like
Oh
that.
fuck. And then you fucking
Yeah.
season it with a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah.
Nice, man. um
Yeah.
uh so yeah, why don't we dive into your diet a little bit? What's your favorite go-to snack? Because I know there's one video you're eating rice crackers, you got a little bit of peanut butter on it and some bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
good.
I remember that one. I don't really eat that anymore. That was more of like a. I was eating that while I was on prep.
Right.
With the rice cakes. I was big on rice cakes when I was on prep. But man, I don't really have like a favorite snack. I literally tell people like sometimes like I'll take it like a chicken breast and just eat it as a snack. Like I'll just eat it like a whole chicken breast, just eat it. Like that's like a snack to me, honestly. I'm kind of weird like that.
Are you one of those guys that don't care about like the taste, like the flavor? You just eat like strictly for performance?
Yeah, I was just talking about this on my last podcast. I was like, so when I was on my bodybuilding prep, when I was pretty low on calories,
Hmm.
I started to care more about like the food I was eating. So I tried to like I seasoned everything and made it all look nice and taste really good. But now that I'm back in my gaining, my bulk phase, like I literally just eat like plain chicken, plain turkey, rice. Like I don't even like sometimes I don't even season stuff. Just eat it, just
Yikes.
because I gotta eat it.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, would you say you're pretty like disciplined? Because obviously like you got your business, right? You're doing your coaching, you're successful in content creation, you're working now, you're
Thank
eating
you.
well. Yeah, and I highly respect that. That's kind of where I want to be. That's my goal. But in terms of like everything else in life, how like disciplined do you think that you are?
I think I am. I'm very disciplined when it comes to things that I really care about. So like bodybuilding. Um, this is like my main passion. This is what I love to do in my life. So I'm very like disciplined with it. But then there's also I'll be honest, like there's things that I don't care about as much, and I'm not like school. Like I wasn't like the best student because I just never really liked school. So I wasn't the most disciplined in that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to things I love, like bodybuilding, I am. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually started my podcast like 3 months before my semester ended, or 4 months before my semester ended. And my
Mm.
fucking grades just like,
Yeah.
because I was like, fuck this, man.
Yeah.
Like, school is so boring. I'm not learning jack shit. Obviously, like, I'm learning like, like useful stuff like the economy or like fucking math or whatnot. Like, it can be useful, but I was
Mm.
like, I like, podcast, fitness. That's like my line of like work that I want to be in, and so I've placed so much more focus. I'm glad I passed though. I passed every course, which is good. Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
yeah. Like how were your grades in in school, if you don't mind me asking?
So in when I was younger, all through up until high school, I had gotten like a couple like I had gotten basically all A's all my life. Like I was
Fuck,
a really good
nice.
student, but then like once college hit, it was like I was kind of done with it. I was just I still got pretty good grades, but like towards the end it was just like C's and B's and stuff, just passing classes.
Yeah, that's good,
Because it
man.
gets just it's so boring after school for so long, for so much of your life. It just gets kind of monotonous at the end. Just reading a book and taking quizzes and tests like that. I don't know how people become doctors and go through like 12 years of school after high school. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean neither, man. My brother, he's doing his PhD right now. He's been in school for like fucking 15 years. I'm like,
That's so
what's
crazy.
wrong with
I mean,
you?
but some people really like school, like the structure of like, you study and you take tests. Like I have a roommate who just loves
Really?
like the structure of like schooling. So I mean, people are different. Some people love it.
Yeah. I guess like some people like bodybuilding, some people like, being a doctor. So, I guess if your passion lies in it, nothing can stop you.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. And fuck, dude,
100%.
I got like all C's in high school, man. So
Really?
yeah, I'm one of those kids. All C's in high school. Grade 12 year, bro. I skipped like 50% of my classes, and I just fucked
I
around.
was the same way, bro. I was the same way. I had
Uh,
like I think my at the end of my senior year, I was like my senior year, I had like 280 periods missed. Like so much. It
no
was crazy. Yeah,
way.
I was the same way, bro. Yeah.
Holy fuck. What did you do? Like where were you going?
I don't know. I just wouldn't go to school. I hated it. My parents were on me, but I don't know. I would
Yeah.
just stay home sometimes.
Yeah, but now you have a degree, or is it a degree? Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a bachelor's degree from ASU with
So
supply
now
chain.
so now you have one in your toolbox, so whenever you need it, you could like just whip it out and just use it. But you
Exactly.
probably don't see yourself using it in the future though, right? You're probably going to be in the bodybuilding line of work.
So I don't in the no, in the near future. I really don't see myself using it. However, I mean maybe who knows? I think down the line. I think down the line it will 100% be useful. I think it's already useful now. Being supply chain especially, it's so big in our world today. Um, it's one of the most popular like business parts of business that's going on right now. It's kind of new as well. Um, and if I, especially if I like create my own business or whatever, like it's gonna be important to know about some of the
Yeah.
stuff that I did learn about in supply chain. So,
Right.
just with like moving different products and everything, and like the whole logistics part of running a business. So, I think it'll be useful.
Where do you see yourself as like a influencer and bodybuilder in the next like say 10 years?
Oh, next 10 years. Well,
It almost feels like a fucking interview now.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I never seen myself as as an influencer really. It's always been like bodybuilder. Uh, I'm more so.
Mhm.
My plan is to eventually become an IFBB pro.
Mm.
Um, I think I can do it in 10 years,
Yep.
within 10 years for
100%.
sure. So that's going to be a goal. I mean, yeah, I just want to keep growing on social media, I guess. And then win shows, do well in bodybuilding competitions, do well in natural bodybuilding competitions. Um, and then yeah, grow my coaching platform, and then maybe eventually create a business. I'm not really sure like what that might be yet, whether it's like clothing or who knows, like, or I mean, outside of my coaching, like, I don't know, but eventually I think I will do that as well. But yeah,
Man, you're gonna get there. 100%. I already know it. Like
I
fucking
appreciate it, bro.
no doubt, bro.
Thank
No
you.
doubt. Like you made a lot of videos on this before, which is like, and honestly, like I'm gonna say, like I'm guilty of this because I saw you in my FYP. I'm like, fuck, this guy's on fucking gear or some shit. But like
Yeah.
I know you're not, and I know you made a lot of videos on that. But like, how would you how do you feel when people think you're on gear or on PDs?
I don't really think much of it anymore.
Right.
Um, I don't. Yeah, it's like a compliment, honestly.
Yeah. Right.
People most the general population I don't think really understand like how big you can get naturally. Like not really everyone like bodybuilding's so niche. Not many people really understand it.
Yeah.
So I don't mind when people think that I'm on gear. It's people can believe whatever they want. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, my true followers know that I'm not, and I know that I'm not. So it is what it is.
Fuck. I wish people thought I was on gear, man. Fuck. No, but like obviously we know that like so IF fuck I always fucking
IFBB.
yeah, fuck, I always forget the acronym, bro. Um will you be would you be considering in the future to hop on PEDs?
Yeah, so I'm definitely like in the future. It's not like completely out of consideration. Like I might eventually.
Mhm.
I've thought about it. But for like the near future and like honestly like even like 5 years or so, like I don't plan on doing it. But
Mhm.
if I get to the point, I want to become a pro, IFBB pro naturally, and I think I can. But to win a
Yeah.
pro show, and to be like eventually possibly be on the Olympia stage or something, like there's no way I can really do that naturally.
Yeah.
So it's not out of question, just not yet.
100%, 100%. I know you talked about this a lot before. I think all I was gonna say is because you already achieved this physique that you have right now without being on PEDs is already so impressive. And I think the fact that you might hop on PEDs is gonna be like, it's gonna go through the roof, bro. Like it's gonna be fucking insane. But
I appreciate it.
yeah. Like and like you said, like in your videos, people don't, especially the young kids these days, scrolling through TikTok, they'll just see like all these influencers like on like SARMs or Test or whatever, and they're just like, everybody's always just looking for shortcuts these days,
Yeah.
and they kind of overlook the importance of diet and the importance of training. One thing I actually wanted to ask you is, people say it's 70% nutrition and 30% training. Some people say 50-50. What do you think is the ratio is?
Oh, I don't know. See, I personally think that for me, I think it's I made the biggest jumps um, when I really take care of my nutrition. So I think nutrition is more so important than training. However, I think I mean, that's two, those two, nutrition, training, and sleep, like, or
Mm,
rest. Like that's the big three that you gotta like take care of. I don't know. I don't really know what I would put on percentage wise. Um,
it's hard to
but I
say.
mean, yeah.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, it's hard to say, especially it's hard to say because like I've met people before that have phenomenal physiques that don't really like take into consideration their nutrition too much,
I've seen those. Yeah.
and like so it's tough. Like I don't know, honestly, like it kind of makes me rethink, like what really is the most important because like some of these just guys just train super hard and train well, but like don't really eat the best, but they still have a great physique. So I don't know, it's a balance, but I'd say that's the three most important things: rest, um, training, and diet. That's really it.
Yeah, man, those guys that fucking eat like shit and get like incredible physiques, those guys are like just super genetically blessed, I think. Like just super
Yeah,
genetically blessed.
true. And yeah, genetics plays like a huge role in what you're able to accomplish. Like, and you really just can't control it. Like some people are really meant for bodybuilding. I think I have great genetics. And
Yeah.
it's some people just don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it plays a huge role. A huge role.
Huge role, huge role. And I think, a lot of people, I think some people, they hear this, they're like, oh man, I'm never going to be able to achieve, Brink's, physique just because, he has great genetics. I don't. I can't put on muscle very hard. And I think people who hear it, just don't be discouraged. Just try your best, make the best out of what you have. I think that everyone has the ability to build muscle. It might take longer for you, it might not. Some people have, they say, like better lat insertions, better chest insertions. It doesn't matter, man. Like, just try as hard as you can, and what makes you look good, just own it. Like, the fact that you're putting in work already makes you better than the average person, is my opinion.
Exactly. I agree. And yeah, like so yeah, going back to like so you said like yeah, if people ask me all the time like or say like yeah, I'm never gonna be able to get to your potential, it's like that's true. Like you're never gonna look like me. I'm never gonna be able to look like you because we have different genetics, and like you'll never know what you'll be able to look like unless you put in like a lot of years of consistent training diet and like actually put that into practice. So like a lot of people like kind of give up or like become discouraged after a year or 2 years of lifting, but you have to understand that like I've been lifting and like doing this for like so long, like 9 years of my life, and like I didn't always look like this. Like it's taken a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you just gotta like keep. I mean, if anyone's out there watching, you're just discouraged and you don't think you're gonna look like your favorite influencer. I mean, yeah, you won't look like them maybe, but like I mean, consistency. You keep going. You keep doing everything you think is right for a long enough time. Like you'll build a great physique. But yeah, I mean, and you won't look like anyone in particular, but you'll look like yourself. And like you'll bring a different look that like maybe no one's ever seen. So,
Yeah,
um,
exactly, man.
but yeah, um, yeah, I
That's
don't know.
No, I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. Can I ask, you had short hair before, and I was like, fuck, dude, this
Yeah.
guy looks like Baki. Did you grow out your hair for that look,
Uh,
or was it more so like you just trying out the long hair?
yeah, I used to have hair like longer than this actually
Oh,
before I did social media and
no
everything.
way.
And then I cut it. Um, I cut it for like I don't know why I cut it, but I did. And then I just since my bodybuilding stuff, I just decided to grow it out. I haven't got a haircut in like 6 months, so now I'm just growing
Yeah,
it.
did you ever watch Baki?
Dude, I honestly I never did. I never really got into like the anime stuff. I remember like the first time I ever posted on social media, everyone's like, "Yo, this guy looks like Baki," and I'm like,
Who's
"Who is
Baki?
that? Who's this Baki guy they're talking about?" But
Yeah,
it's big. It's really big in the fitness bodybuilding world. So
yeah, it
I
is.
know who they are
It
now.
is. No, I know. I remember in high school, I never got into anime. Like all my friends would be talking about anime, and I'm like, "Fucking, what a bunch of nerds! What a bunch of geeks!" And then eventually, I was like, "Fuck it, let's just see what it's about." And as I watched my first anime, and I was like, "Oh fuck, like this is actually this is actually pretty good. Like the
Yeah.
stories, like the storyline, and like they like the plot. They just put so much work into it, and I think it's actually like anime is definitely worth watching. I think you should watch Baki just because people say you look like Baki.
Yeah, I've literally never watched an episode, but I might have to just to actually get the realization of like actually what it looks like. But
Oh yeah, I was actually gonna ask you. So okay, first of all, I don't know why I fucking even started a podcast in the first place, to be honest. Um, but I don't regret it. Like I've been inviting people like you on the show, and I have a really nice talk with them, and I connect with people, I make friends, and then I learn also a lot about the science behind fitness, nutrition, and their experiences, whatnot. Um, but what I wanted to ask is for the podcast that you were on just like not too long ago, what was like kind of the stuff that you guys talked about?
so like I said, it was he calls it like he has like a lot of different like podcasts or like social media accounts where he does different things, but his one was called the Natural Bodybuilding Podcast. So we just kind of talked about like competitive bodybuilding, my experience, kind of like my same like we did today, like my training, my nutrition style, and
Right.
everything like that. Um, yeah, and then like kind of my experiences and like what got me into fitness and everything like that,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
why like we talked about like natural stuff and all that stuff.
Cool, man. Cool, man. Yeah, yeah. I was just wondering,
Yeah.
just out of curiosity. But yeah, why don't we spend like the last little bit, um, kind of if you would tell, if you have any advice to tell any lifters out there, anybody who's watching this podcast, what tips, what advice do you have for them?
Yeah, so I mean, kind of like what I had said before. I mean, you may get discouraged, like if it's not coming together right away. But that's just because bodybuilding or like just fitness in general, trying to lose weight, gain weight, whatever it is, like it takes time. It takes a lot of consistency and effort, and it doesn't happen overnight. So keep pushing. I promise you, like nothing great happens overnight. Great things they take a while. So I mean, like it pays off in the end, and you just gotta keep going. And uh, I mean, in terms of like how you go about it, there's a lot of information out there in the world. There's a lot of people that know what they're talking about. A lot of people that don't. Um, but I mean, try and just indulge in a lot of different information from different people, listen, and kind of come to your own conclusions. Don't be narrow minded. Be open to different trains of thoughts and different people. I mean, one of the biggest people that I listened to growing up and who taught me so much about bodybuilding is his name is John Meadows. If he actually passed away recently, but his YouTube channel is still up, and like he has some fantastic information. If you ever, that was like probably like my main source of info whenever I needed anything about bodybuilding, learn anything about bodybuilding. So, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great other guys now that are doing great things, but learn as much as you can. I'd say try and learn from YouTube more than TikTok or whatever. Uh, but yeah, and I just keep going. Like it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a while, but it's worth it. And once you start seeing results, like there's no better feeling, and that's why people become so addicted to bodybuilding and fitness, the fitness lifestyle, because it's just so addicting to see results day in day out. So yeah, my biggest advice is keep going.
Yeah, man, I totally agree with you. Just keep. I think consistency is key. Sorry, I was searching because I didn't know who John Meadows was. I just searched him up, and he died like at age 49. That's like really young. That's a really young age.
Yeah, it was really sad. I think it was 2 years ago now, but
Yeah.
great guy, like one of the best or like most respected bodybuilders, really like ever. Um, so,
Do
and
you know
he
what
used to
was
put
the
out like a lot.
cause?
Pretty sure it was like a heart attack, heart issue. I'm
Right.
pretty sure. I'm not 100% sure, but I
Right.
think that's what it was. But yeah,
What was?
but
Well, yeah. What was that other guy that passed away recently? That was also.
there's been it's actually
Yeah, it's been a
oh,
few.
there's been a few. Are you talking about the influencer kid, the bodybuilder?
No, not that one. Not that one. I know that one was a motorcycle crash. Um,
Yeah. There's a lot of different bodybuilders kind of been passing away lately. It's so Cedric McMillan, um, uh, who else? Okay, there's been like a few others.
there was like a
Dallas McCarthy.
right. Fuck yeah.
I know I can't put my name on them right, my finger on them right now. But there's been a few that have passed away.
It's just sad. It's just sad, man. They like sacrificed their health to achieve their dreams, which, like, I think if you value your dreams more, then I think it's a highly respectable thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, bodybuilding is, it's not the safest sport by any means. Naturally or unnaturally, like it's not healthy. Like I wouldn't say it's healthy. But I mean, when you're passionate about something, you'll go all in, So I respect everyone that does it because, I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's like I said, it's not the healthiest thing, but
Yeah, man. Like, taking pre workout every day can't be healthy. I don't think it's healthy.
yeah.
That's just like
I actually don't
chemicals.
take pre-workout, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't.
You don't take pre workout. I know there's a few other bodybuilders I had on the show that say they don't take pre workout. Um, and wait, but why would you say? What would you say is the reason, like, why you don't take it? Like, you just don't need it. Like, you feel enough energy, like when you're working out.
Yeah, I grew up all my life. My parents literally wouldn't buy me anything in
Yeah,
terms of like or let me have anything in terms of like like even like regular everyday supplements like pre-workout or like creatine or whatever. So I just never had it most of my life growing up. And then I realized like I never really needed it and then I tried it a few times, but I feel like obviously the caffeine's going to help for sure if like you're tired, like it'll give you a little boost, but I feel like I never really need it,
you don't. You
honestly.
also don't take creatine.
I've gone through like, so I don't take creatine right now. No, I've gone through like a few times where I do it. It makes my acne. I'm still very prone to acne at my age, and it kind of makes me break out even more. So
Gotcha.
I kind of don't right now. I have nothing against it. It's a great supplement for sure, but it's just for some reason I don't know why, but it makes me break out even more. So I don't take it. No.
Yeah, dude, my parents are kind of the same way. I remember when I first, like, in high school, I wanted to get protein powder, and I remember like my dad wouldn't let me, and
Yeah.
he would, and then eventually like I convinced him, and then he bought it, but he took it to our physician just down the road, and then he was asking the doctor, like, is it safe to take? And then the doctor was like, hey, just calm down. Like, as long as it doesn't say anabolic steroids, you're fine. I'm like, fuck,
Yeah, bro.
man.
Honestly, dude, the Asian parents, bro. That's what
Yeah.
it is, bro.
Yeah.
They're worried. They're worried about what we're gonna. My parents are like so still worried. So they think that I've hopped on gear.
Oh, really?
They've been so worried.
Uh,
They've asked me so many times, but
that's so
yeah,
funny. Yeah.
they're very
Every
against
time
it.
I'm like, every time, because I still take protein, like, every time because I still take like protein like 5 out of 7 days of the week. And like every time I'm taking protein, like I'm scooping it in the cup, like I just get this death stare from my mom. She's like, cause like I put on quite a bit of muscle in the last like couple of years, and she thinks that
Hmm.
it's because of the protein powder, which like ultimately ultimately, like, obviously protein is the thing that builds muscle, but then she thinks that it's the powder that's like building muscle in my body. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
fuck it. Yeah, like I've tried very hard to explain myself, but it's very
Some
difficult.
yeah, they don't understand.
Exactly.
I feel you, bro. I'm the same way.
Yeah, yeah. Do you take so you don't take creatine right now? You don't take pre-workout. Are you taking protein powder?
So I don't really take protein powder either. No, that's another thing because the protein powder has this most protein powders. There's like vegan ones that it's like pea protein,
Yeah.
but most of like the common ones for most supplement brands, it's whey protein and it's kind of like it's like a milk like protein isolate protein, and I know that's just something that can cause acne as well because the dairy. And I so I try and I try and stay away from all dairy, and that's another one thing that I don't take is protein powder because of that.
Bro,
Um,
you've got to be the healthiest bodybuilder in the fucking fitness industry. I bet the fucking supplement companies hate you. I bet they hate you
oh yeah,
so
so
much, bro.
see that's the problem. I'm actually with one right now, and I don't promote them like ever, bro. Like I
Oh my
never promote them because
goodness.
I just don't really like. Like I said, like I'll use protein. I've used protein powder like maybe like once a month, and I'll use pre workout like once a month. But I don't promote it obviously because I don't really use it. Um, and yeah, I've thought about like trying to get a sponsor with a different supplement company, but I just don't really use supplements too much, you know.
And then you would
At
have
least the common ones,
and
you
then you
know.
would have to lie about it, which you probably don't want to do, right? Because you don't want to be you
Yeah,
want to be as
yeah,
transparent as you can with your followers.
yeah. And there's some that I do take, but it's just like, I take some supplements, but less like the most common ones. Pre workout, protein powder, and creatine. I just don't take right now. So yeah,
But you take like multivitamins, like omegas and whatnot.
yeah. I take like fish oil. I take like digestion pills. I do take EAAs during my workout, and I also take I have an intracarb powder that I take. But and a few different things, but I nothing like nothing common. None of the three most common supplements I don't take. So
Yeah, intro workouts definitely are not popular. I know, like, yeah, yeah. And I know my ex manager. He always took a like a carb drink when he's working out, which
that's
makes
what I
sense,
do.
right? Like you want your glycogen to be at its optimal levels while you're working out. But why don't you
Hmm.
take like is there a difference between taking the carb drink or like just eating like a banana during your workout?
I mean, so it's there's difference in like the actual like carb itself. So, but like, no, I think that you can eat like you can have like a banana mid workout instead of like having a carb drink, but um, it's just then like you're eating in the gym, so it's it's
Oh,
easier. It's kind of just easier to like
oh, I see
um
what you mean.
just have sip on it throughout your workout rather than like I'd rather not have like I mean
Gotcha.
like I see people sometimes have like candy or like rice cakes or whatever, which
Yeah.
is like that works too, I guess, but like I just don't want to be like eating in the gym. I'd rather just drink something that
Yeah,
has
yeah, yeah.
carbs.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I guess like if you were to go like a really natural route, you could like make some like honey water or some shit, right?
Yeah, true. I guess you could do that. Yeah. I'm not taking it that far.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. So, sorry, I said it was only gonna be 10 more minutes, it ended up being like almost 20 more minutes. I'm having a really good chat
Yeah.
with you, if you can't tell. Um,
Yeah. I like talking to you.
yeah, 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 me too, man. I think this has been a really great chat, but I don't want to keep you for too long. I know you got a busy day ahead of you, so I guess if you have anything else to say at all,
Yeah, I think I'm good.
okay.
Thank you so much for having me, James. I really appreciate it. I'm glad I can I'm doing this more often now with different people and getting on and just sharing like who I am and like my beliefs and just talking. So I really appreciate you having me on. Seriously, thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah, no, thank you so much for coming on to the show.